Smashers, Food City, Pepsi, Budweiser, and Guinness.
Stop by Hall of Frames today and pick up your discount coupons for the Renaissance Festival. Hall of Frames has been family owned and operated since 1975. Nobody frames you better.
Make extra money daily from your sports betting? Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here. You know, I'm always about finding ways to take sports betting to the next level, and that's exactly why I'm pumped to tell you about Edge Boost, the financial platform that pays you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all of your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. That's free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're already doing. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it will never be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today. That's edgeboost.bet. Once again, edgeboost.bet.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
And welcome back to Beat the Book. And we inch closer and closer to the NBA trade deadline. So guess what we're going to start the show talking about? We're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll also talk about the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, I know. We have to. I'm not saying it's going to be fun, but that's what we're doing. We'll also talk about the Phoenix Open. Waste Management Phoenix Open, why that's coming up this weekend, right before the Super Bowl, which, by the way, is on this very station. We're going to talk about some of the betting markets that are out there. We don't get into golf very often, but when you've got it in your own backyard, you've got to get to it. Segment 2, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the trade that was heard around the NBA world this past weekend. Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis, the betting markets are out there and shifting around, and maybe you can take advantage. Dylan's going to break that down for you. Segment 3, big game hunting, long shot parlay of the day. You know how this goes. I'm Keon Rose. Alongside me, of course, Dylan Cohen, our betting expert in the building. We're broadcasting live from the Harmon Solar Studios here at 1580 The Fanatic. You're on the text line, 888-368-1580. Your teams, your bets, how did they do? You know we want to hear that stuff from you. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
Well, that would be Sport Trade. And if you have not already, make sure you search Sport Trade on your smartphone, get that app downloaded, and use promo code 1580 to take advantage of their 10% cashback promotion on all the wagers that you place in your first week. In addition to Sport Trade, we are also powered by Edge Boost. Edge Boost is the only FDIC-insured bank account out there that is designed specifically for your sportsbook, your daily fantasy site, and your casino deposits. So anytime you deposit cash out of your Edge Boost bank account into any one of those entities, you are going to earn cash back on the transaction. This account will come with an electronic Visa debit card that you can use for all of your daily fantasy site, sportsbook, and casino needs. So make sure you check out edgeboost.bet today. Get your account set up. It's very quick and easy, and use promo code 1580 when you do that. So that way you can start off on a higher tier and earn even more cash back than what you would earn if you didn't use that promo code 1580. Now, with all that being said, here on Beat the Book, we do give out actual bets that you can place Monday through Friday. There is a Beat the Book website. You can get there by visiting the 1580thefanatic.com website. Click on the Beat the Book with Dylan Cohen logo. That'll take you right to the place you need to get to. You can just search in your browser, Beat the Book Fanatic, Beat the Book Dylan Cohen. Either one of those things will get you over to the right place. You can also follow me on Instagram. The tag is at Beat the Book Fanatic, all spelled out. And if you happen to hit the link in the bio on Instagram, that'll take you right to the Beat the Book website. So you can check out what the picks are for today, as well as the long shot parlay of the day, which we will go through in segment 3. But with the 10 actual bets to make for tonight, there is a college basketball pick on there. The rest is going to be NBA. Yesterday, we went 5-4, so 5 wins, 4 losses. One of the picks got voided. That was Brooke Lopez. The Milwaukee Bucks just pretty much laid over. They didn't want to compete yesterday. They gave pretty much their entire starting 5 like the night off, and they took a bath. They got beat pretty bad by the Thunder there. But we were on the right side of the under on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander points. So that was pretty good to see. There were a number of other player props that did win for us yesterday. So do not miss out on the Beat the Book top 2 picks for today and the additional 8 other bets to consider. You will be able to check those out on the Beat the Book website. Now let's start off with a little bit of Phoenix Suns talk here, Keon. Did you happen to see that game last night?
I did catch some of it, unfortunately. By the way, King of Kittens on the text line, and all he says is inhale the good, exhale the bad.
Exactly.
That's what we got to do right now.
Exactly. That is a very good way to just sum up, I feel like, this season being like a Suns fan. It's just you take the good with the bad, and honestly, like coming into yesterday and with the show, like I hate to encourage people to bet against the Suns, but when I really know it to be just like a smart move, a good bet to make, like that sentiment's going to overpower my fanhood, and I'm going to give the listeners a solid betting pick. So that's why my top pick yesterday was for the Blazers to cover an alternate spread of +7.5.
Yeah, and you did mention that you were being a little conservative with that, by the way, because it was a good
the money line was a great opportunity on the Blazers yesterday. I mean, it was paying almost 2-1. And this game, it ended up being a lot more competitive than the first matchup against Portland that we played, a couple days before. But this was one where the Blazers got the best of us. It went to overtime. Final score 121-119. Little silver lining in this is that Devin Booker, he does get 34 points. That was enough to allow him to set the new record for being the Phoenix Suns franchise leader in most career points scored. So that was, encouraging to see. But I think more than anything, and even the guys in the locker room, everyone just wanted to get a win. And that's just really where we're at right now with this Phoenix Suns season is, we take 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. And, we go 8-2, in this 10-game stretch, and then we hit Portland, and now we've just run into a complete speed bump, and we dropped 2 straight games to a team that has 0 aspirations of making the postseason this year. Meanwhile, DeAndre Ayton continues his 20-point scoring streak. He went for 25 points last night. He grabbed 20 rebounds. 9 of those 20 rebounds were offensive rebounds. 4 of those offensive rebounds came in the overtime period, where the Blazers were able to turn those 4 offensive rebounds into a crucial 6 points. And I mean, if you watched the game last night and the rotations that Bud was using in, the latter half of the fourth quarter and into overtime, it was a little frustrating. We were running kind of a smaller ball lineup where Durant is the center. We had Royce O'Neal essentially playing the 4. And then we had Grayson Allen out there along with Book and Bradley Beal. And I mean, to give them some credit, this was like the lineup that kind of helped us go on a run in the fourth. And this is where, I mean, this was like really great basketball to watch. The Suns hit a buzzer beater 3 to tie the game with like 1.7 seconds left. And then Bradley Beal, who never gets enough credit for the things he does on the defensive end, he has just a heck of a block on Anthony Simons, who took a 3-point shot to essentially, win the game. And it was kind of a gamble on Beal's part, because if Beal makes contact, at all with Simons, or if he doesn't, give him space to land and they blow the whistle there, we're losing that game. Anthony Simons gets 3 shots. He just needs to make 1 and, we're done. But that was not how that ended up going down. Bradley Beal just happened to just time everything perfectly. He got a very clean block on Anthony Simons. Game goes to overtime. Overtime period's very back and forth. And there's about like less than 10 seconds left. And Devin Booker ends up catching an inbounds pass and quickly trying to shoot a 3-pointer. And Denny Avdia, he honestly made a very big blunder, just did not give Booker any space at all. Refs blow the whistle. All of a sudden, Booker's getting 3 free throw attempts to potentially tie this game. And it's looking like it's going to trend towards potentially a double overtime. Booker comes up to the line. He makes the first. He makes the second. He misses the third. And then from
Yeah.
there, that was pretty tough to recover from. The Suns were not able to make another shot, and that was how that game ended. And here we are. It's Tuesday. The NBA trade deadline is going to be up Thursday afternoon. We have less than 2 full days to try and make a move. And I think after a game that ended the way it did last night, we're just still stuck in this place of this group is not it. Something needs to change. And ideally, that would be something very groundbreaking. We would be trying to move on from Bradley Beal to bring in a Jimmy Butler to see if that really changes things up enough. But the reality, from where we stand right now with how little time we have left, I just don't think the Suns can continue to put their eggs in this Jimmy Butler basket. It really just feels like this is at a complete impasse, and you've got Pat Riley, dug in as possible. You've got Jimmy Butler dug in as humanly possible, and neither one of these guys are going to budge. And then, we didn't really have time to acknowledge this yesterday, but there were some reports that came out. The Suns were entertaining phone calls about Kevin Durant, after what happened with Luka and AD. No one's safe. The GMs are getting creative. They're calling around. They want to know who's potentially on the market. Well, hypothetical, would you do, this? Would you take this player? Would you take that one? Would you take this pick? I mean, these are all the kind of conversations that are going on right now. Yes, we still have Yusuf Nurkic to potentially try and make a move there. The Suns are dedicated to just trying to figure out what moves are even, relatively possible to make. It's just at a place right now where, it feels like anything can happen. But in terms of, how we're feeling about our odds of getting Jimmy Butler at this point,
Doesn't feel great.
It just does not feel great at all. And this is kind of a controversial take. And I did say this previously when we really, really hammered the Suns about this. But if we cannot make a move for Jimmy Butler, and then all of a sudden, we're trying to shop Nurkic around, whatever we're finding that's out there for Nurkic, we just know it's not going to move the needle. If we're already kind of hearing what other offers are going to be for Kevin Durant, if one of those teams that happened to call that we listened to was the Houston Rockets, I would not rule out a Kevin Durant trade to the Rockets only if it brought us back Amen Thompson. It would have to be more than just Amen Thompson, but if he is the centerpiece of a potential offer to the Suns for Kevin Durant, and here we stand at 25-24 on the season, we're literally 10th place right now. Technically, I guess we win this tiebreaker over the Warriors. If the playoffs started today, we are that very last team that makes the play-in. I at this point, this is starting to feel like something that, we gave it a try. We pushed. We tried to put these big contracts together, and we got the super team. We gave it a run. At some point, for the longevity of this franchise, we have to just say enough is enough.
Yeah. It's the business sunk cost fallacy. Someone opens a restaurant and they, it's their baby, it's their passion project. They put some money into it, and then it's just not working. And for whatever reason, maybe it's just whatever it is that they need to get it running just costs too much money, or the whatever food it is that they're serving, the community just doesn't like it. Whatever it is, maybe there's just too many other restaurants that do that already. Whatever it is, some people realize okay, this is not working. Time to go back to the drawing board, maybe try something else. And some people just keep throwing money at it. Well, if I just put $20,000 more into it, it'll work. Okay, $20,000 more dollars. If I just keep hanging in there, it's going to work out eventually. And a lot of restaurants go down exactly like that because people don't know when to stop putting money into a bad investment. And I don't want to see the Suns do that. I don't want to see the Suns keep throwing money at this thing. I think, I always appreciate a big swing when you get up to the plate, you have a chance to hit a home run, swing for it. But you missed, which is fine. Go get a single, get a double, try to get on base at least. And I think that's where the Suns are right now. And I don't know in which direction Matt Ishbia is leaning, what he's actually managed to learn throughout all of this in his early years of being the owner of this team. But I hope that he's starting to learn that, okay, you do take your shots. You do take your chances. I actually appreciate what they did, but it's not working. So scale it back.
And I think that this Lakers and Mavericks trade that just went down, to an extent, it makes a move like what I just, recommended for the Suns. It makes going through something like that, I think, a little bit easier. The Lakers sort of got the best of both worlds with Luka Doncic. There's a future now for that team. There's still a pathway to, being a contender once LeBron is no longer playing for the Lakers anymore. But in the short term, he still gives you a shot in the arm, and you could still be very competitive. And in the Suns' case, if we did happen to turn Kevin Durant into Amen Thompson and maybe another young guy or two and maybe some draft picks, we probably wouldn't see that instant amount of success the same way that the Lakers probably have a better chance of seeing that with Luka. But there's still something to be said in that long-term potential.
And dude, like the Thompson, if they could get Amen Thompson, like that would be one of the bigger steals of this season outside of the Lakers getting Luka. Like I think he's going to be that good. I don't know if you could get the Rockets to let go of him, but if you could, like that's not crazy to think that kind of keeps the Suns on a timetable that doesn't have you competitive 10 years from now, but something closer to 3 or 4.
Last night, Amen Thompson and the Houston Rockets, they played the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden, and they were shorthanded. They only lost by 6 points. Amen Thompson was the reason that Houston was in that game. He had a 25-point triple-double, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. This is his second triple-double, I believe, of this season. And there's not a whole lot of people I think that'd be really aware of this, but a guy like Devin Booker, do you know how long it took him to get a triple-double in the NBA? It took him about 6 years. Like he got drafted 2013 and
something like that. Yeah.
He got it for the first time in 2019.
I didn't know that.
So, these triple doubles, we take them for granted so much because we see guys just do them effortlessly. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And we see guys do it effortlessly, but it's the same 4 guys. It's like Jokic is one, Westbrook is the other one. It's just a handful of guys. LeBron's the other one. There's not very many guys. I think Giannis could probably get him pretty easily too, but that's pretty much it. Everybody else, it's still huge when you get a triple double. That's not an easy thing to do. Those guys have just made it look so easy that we kind of we take it for granted, like you said.
Yeah, I definitely believe that it is a rare skill set, and the Suns still need to be doing their due diligence to try and improve this squad the way that they have it now. But again, this would be some 11th hour decision if we just feel like, okay, we've really fully exhausted this search. There is nothing else out there outside of us starting to, not necessarily fire sale, but let's turn around and let's just see if we can regroup. And maybe instead of subjecting ourselves to 6 to 10 years of being in the doghouse of the NBA, maybe it's only 2 years.
Yeah.
And then maybe that rebuild comes a lot quicker.
Anywhere from 2 to 4. To me, that's very realistic. And we mentioned this before, but the picks that they traded to acquire to kind of give them Jimmy Butler fuel, essentially, to give them the ammo to go get Jimmy. If you're not able to get Jimmy, why not just keep him? Keep those picks, and then maybe depends on how you feel about breaking this team up, but look to move somebody to try and get even more picks. And now you're retooling, and it's a quicker turnaround than having to try and figure out what you're doing 7, 8, 9 years down the road.
Exactly. So this is, a constantly moving situation, tons of different moving pieces to it. We will definitely be, keeping our eyes on how all that stuff evolves. There were, a couple of other trades that went down in the NBA, obviously much smaller in magnitude compared to, what the Lakers and Mavericks pulled off. But there was a 3-team deal that went down in addition to this Luka AD trade. The 3 teams involved were the Chicago Bulls, the Sacramento Kings, and the San Antonio Spurs. And this 3-team trade saw the Bulls starting point guard Zach LaVine move over to the Sacramento Kings, and then De'Aaron Fox, the point guard of the Kings, moving over to the San Antonio Spurs. And I think there's a lot more of a conversation we could have about this, but just, for, time's sake here, I just don't see this really doing anything significant for the Kings. We talked about this a little bit. The Kings have now reunited DeMar DeRozan with Zach LaVine. That was the backcourt pairing in Chicago for 3, 4, maybe 5 years. And, at best, they were able to get that team to like an 8th seed. They never managed to come out of the play-in. It was just not a fruitful situation. So now you're Sacramento, and yes, to an extent, this is them just kind of making the best of a bad situation. They're looking at De'Aaron Fox just leaving them for nothing and refusing to extend. So they've got to try and turn him into something. So on the one hand, I get it. On the other hand, the Sacramento team just kind of feels like the Chicago Bulls 2.0. You've got Domantas Sabonis, who I think is a better player than Nikola Vucevic, but they have surprisingly similar skill sets. So they
do the same thing.
They really do. So, what different result can you expect there? The real monster to keep an eye on is De'Aaron Fox going to San Antonio. What does that do for Victor Wembanyama?
It does a lot for him, I think. And then, of course, you've got Chris Paul to kind of be like mentor guy. Like it really works out very well for them. The Levine and DeRozan thing is just crazy because like every single statistical indicator seems to suggest that this is just not a good idea for Sacramento. They were 81-75 in their time playing together in Chicago. So like just like 6 games above 500 total. And then on top of that, you're looking at Zach LaVine, whose best seasons happened before DeRozan got there and after DeRozan left. Like nothing about this says good at all.
So that could end up being beneficial for the Suns. But I am now a bit concerned about the Spurs, who are currently below us in the standings, now being elevated by getting Fox in there. They're much better. They've got their eyes set on making the play-in and trying to make some noise, trying to build up the, growing legacy of Victor Wembanyama and, trying to see how far they can get him this early in his career. So, other than that, just a quick shout out. There was another trade that got completed today. The Dallas Mavericks traded Quentin Grimes and a 2nd-round pick to the Philadelphia 76ers. They got Caleb Martin back in return. And I love this move for Dallas. Like, people forget what Caleb Martin did for the Miami Heat in the playoffs not that long ago. This guy is battle tested in the postseason. He could very well like outplay Klay Thompson and into, potentially being a starter on that team, or at least just seeing more minutes than a guy like Klay. That's someone that I expect to contribute for them in the second half of the season and for, the playoff run that they look like they're poised to get.
And I think the thing that I really like about that is, again, it makes Dallas better defensively. Like, people are kind of roasting their GM right now, but honestly, this guy he has at least in mind something that he thinks is important and that he values, and that's defense and being able to stop teams from scoring and being able to basically impose your will on that end of the floor, worrying less about offense. Like, the offense is going to come, but like defense is where he thinks championships are built, which is interesting in the modern NBA, but at least he's got a plan. Like, he's not like the Luka thing. I know Dallas fans are mad, but he really does seem to value defense more than offense, which means Luka kind of got to go if that's the way you think about it.
Yeah, and I think both of us are going to have some more to say on that. After the break coming up here. So stick around. We're going to talk a little Waste Management Open. I've got a couple of picks there to give out. We're going to touch base a little bit on some new news that has come out recently about this illegal sports betting ring. We talked about that a little bit last week. Terry Rozier potentially involved. Yeah. There's some new wrinkles that are now coming to light in this.
And this is the same ring involving Jonte Porter. So it's
pretty juicy stuff.
Yeah.
So stick around. You're listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Everybody's got a podcast these days. Comedy, politics, true crime, you name it. But how many actually teach you anything useful? Harman Solar has an entertaining podcast that is vital if you've been thinking about looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Ralph and Ben explore the intricacies of utilities, equipment, processes, and more. Their primary objective is to educate and empower you to make informed decisions on your solar journey. So increase your knowledge, not your bills. Go check it out right now. It's the Harman Solar Podcast at harmansolar.com.
Make extra money daily from your sports betting? Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here. You know, I'm always about finding ways to take sports betting to the next level, and that's exactly why I'm pumped to tell you about Edge Boost, the financial platform that pays you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all of your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. That's free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're already doing. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it will never be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today. That's edgeboost.bet. Once again, edgeboost.bet.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pegol is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
The most important event in sports could happen at any time.
Like right now.
Or even
Now.
don't miss history. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or at 1580thefanatic.com.
All right, quick look at the text line. Baker's Cocky Hens with a couple of very nonsensical trade proposals. One, Kevin Durant to Indiana for Miles Turner and Caitlin Clark, which I don't think can work for a variety of reasons, but I don't think you can
like
combine an NBA and WNBA trade. Look, it wouldn't hurt. And then he also goes, maybe we could trade Durant for Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and 4 first-rounders, unprotected first. Keep Crowder this time. So he's offering a trade back, but Bridges and Johnson have already been separated. So I don't think that's going to work either, but we're going to keep working at it, Baker's Cocky Hands. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Let's chat a little waste management open here, because I usually almost never bet on golf. I don't play it personally. I do like to watch it from time to time. But the Waste Management Open in particular, I do go to that every year. I've been going to it every year for the last 10 plus years or so. Always a great time. Usually go on Sunday. And then what's great about Sunday is that's the day it ends. So if you have any bets on who's going to win, you actually get to go there and sweat it out, see, the actual result. So it's always a fun dynamic. And then just because of that, that's where, okay, I'll get a little bit more into the actual betting of it. I've had some success in the past. But coming into this year, I think this is a really good opportunity. Just taking a look at the lines right now, how things are priced, it definitely feels like there's a solid opportunity to profit. So if you pull up the actual betting markets right now for the Waste Management Open, these all pretty much just came out today. The tournament itself starts on Thursday. So you've got today and tomorrow to try and get these bets in before things can start really moving around. But just taking a look right now on FanDuel, and universally, this is all pretty relative. You've got Scotty Scheffler priced as the outright favorite. And the price that FanDuel shows on him right now, it's plus 280. Again, maybe plus 260 some places, maybe 3-1 in others. I haven't actually seen it go that high. But then after Scotty Scheffler, you got Justin Thomas priced after him on FanDuel. He's 12-1. Then Hideki Matsuyama at 16-1. Sungjae Im at 22-1. Sam Burns at 25-1. Tom Kim 33-1. And that's basically your top 6 right there. Then it really starts kind of getting off the rails, and you're working with a guy like a Sepp Straka priced at 40-1, or Sahith Theegala at 45-1. And, just in concept, when you're looking to bet golf, Scotty Scheffler is a brand name. He probably does have a good chance at winning this tournament, but to take him at plus 280, the juice is not worth the squeeze. It's probably the best way that I can phrase that. Like, and
I
that,
hear you.
that goes for any golfer, like in any tournament. You should be able to take advantage of much longer odds before a tournament's actually started. And you look at a guy like Scotty Scheffler, who is coming off like a hand injury, hasn't played a whole lot. He was okay at Pebble Beach. He didn't like finish in the top 10, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, this is a course that he's played on often. He has a history of success. He's won this tournament before. It's not that he's not a bad pick. I just don't like him at plus 280. I think most people would say that they don't like him at plus 280. And if you're someone that really wants to put their money on Scheffler, maybe you're better off just waiting until the tournament actually starts. Hopefully he kind of starts off slow. You can get some better odds than something that's paying out less than 3-1. The value on that pick, not totally there. Going through this list and trying to kind of identify the golfers that I'm going to be personally backing on this. And by the way, if you've already made your Waste Management Open picks and you'd like to share them with us, please do. Would love to have a conversation about it. 888-368-1580. That is the Fanatic text line. My favorite pick in this tournament is actually to back the guy that won it last year and then who also happened to finish in the top 2 the year before that. That would be Nick Taylor. And Nick Taylor right now, the way that he is priced, it's just kind of mind-blowing. On Fanatics earlier, I happened to place a bet on him. I got him at like 65-1. Not very good odds. Nick Taylor on FanDuel, paying about 70-1. Better odds. I happened to open up my sport trade like before the show. Nick Taylor was paying over 80-1.
Oh my God,
to win this thing. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, $15. Boom. If that wins, that pays like a little over 1,200. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
that's a nice little,
easiest call of the day. I wonder what Theegala is.
So Theegala,
because I like Theegala a lot.
I love Theegala, and if you haven't seen that Netflix golf show, I think it's called like Full Swing or something like that. Check it out. There is an episode on Theegala from a few years ago that follows him during the Waste Management Open, and it's crazy because this was a year where like he was like dominating the tournament. The tournament. He was winning from the get-go, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then he collapsed on Sunday.
Yeah, and that was actually I was there. Not following him, drinking heavily, but like watching him on the
doing it right.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't have been allowed to walk anywhere. But he was like one of the things, like there was like a buzz going around, like who is this guy? Like we hadn't really heard of him. Like the guy is really good on this course in particular. I think he finished second that year. He collapsed and still finished second, and then last year he finished 5th.
Yeah, he is someone that has a track record of playing very well on this course, and that's kind of been a thing for him throughout his career. Is just he just can't keep it together for like all 4 days. He will do well Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's like at some point you just kind of know he's going to fall off a little bit. But ever since I saw him on that Netflix show, he's always been someone that I've kind of gravitated towards. And Theegala to win the tournament right now on FanDuel, he's priced at 45-1. Not a bad play at all. With the golf tournaments, they also allow for, you can bet on a guy to finish top 5, top 10, top 20. And then if you are someone that's looking for a parlay opportunity, you can actually parlay a guy in the top 5 with a guy in the top 10 with a guy in the top 20. There's different combinations of that you can make. And some of those get pretty intriguing. I actually earlier today, just for fun, this is a bet that I placed myself. Nick Taylor to finish top 5, parlayed with Sahith Theegala to finish top 10. That pays out just a little bit under 40-1 odds. I put some money on that. I really like that one. You've got Nick Taylor, like I said before, he has finished in the top 2 of this tournament the last 2 years. Sahith Theegala, he has finished in the top 5 twice in the last 3 years. So these are guys that know this course, and especially for Nick Taylor, because you think back to last year, the weather was horrible last year. I mean, some of the worst that I think I've ever seen there. I mean, as a spectator, you could hardly get around the course. The second you stepped on any grass, you were falling over. There's just no traction whatsoever. So Nick Taylor proved it in the worst weather conditions 2 years ago when he finished second. The weather was great, which is exactly what we're expecting for this year. So that's someone that's really proven it in, a range of conditions. So for how he's paying out right now, I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. He actually won a tournament earlier last month in January. He's playing good golf right now. That's someone that I just think he's one of the higher value plays. But like I said before, share your Waste Management open bets with us. We want to shout them out. 888-368-1580.
By the way, Scotty Scheffler did finish 9th at Pebble Beach, but he was tied for with 3 different people. It was not a great day.
It's one of those ones where it's like, okay, technically that's top 10, but like,
yeah, but it doesn't
really
feel great. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, last week, there was some news that came out regarding a federal prosecutor investigation that was going on in regards to Terry Rozier, who is a shooting guard for the Miami Heat. And this ended up being connected to the gambling ring that Jontay Porter was involved with, going back to when he got caught, altering his performance in a couple of games for the Raptors where people bet his unders, completely illegal situation that is being prosecuted right now and further investigated. So as it's being further investigated, there's more people getting indicted. There's more news that's coming to light. And the latest wrinkle in the fold is that this same gambling ring that had, impacted NBA games, they're still trying to determine whether or not Terry Rozier actually had some, intentional involvement in it and if there was any wrongdoing. But what has now also come to light is this ring was involved pretty heavily with college basketball. And there were betting integrity monitors that flagged suspicious activity on games for some small schools within college basketball. North Carolina A&T and Eastern Michigan are 2 of these schools that have popped up. And there's definitely some concerning details that have come out. For the case of North Carolina A&T, they actually recently suspended 3 players from their team. And all they've said is it was for a quote unquote violation of well-established team rules. They won't say anything beyond that. Meanwhile, in these Eastern Michigan games, what they were flagging for the betting activity, it was tied to bets against Eastern Michigan in the first half of their games. And this happened multiple times. So, just playing devil's advocate here, if there's players that are compromised on Eastern Michigan that are somehow communicating with this betting ring and they're concocting a scheme where who knows how many players it is, but clearly it's enough to where they can impact the first half, and make sure that the team starts out kind of slow to the point where they don't cover, or they do cover, the first half spread. That's the kind of thing where, we talked about this last week. We speculated that this was so much more widespread and rampant than anyone currently understood. And that if that was the case, that there would be more things that would come to light. How could you, potentially police that other than, exposing the communication and connecting the dots on the fact that, these guys are tied to some betting ring? If let's just say there's 3 guys in North Carolina A&T and, they're all colluding to try and make sure that in the first half of the game, the team, is losing and doesn't cover the spread. If you have 3 out of the 5 guys on the court that are organizing in this, that's probably enough to actually make a difference.
That's more than enough. Two is probably more than enough. 3 is insane. We're talking at that point about 60% of the basketball team on the floor. Of course they have enough to swing the way that a game is moving. And this is, by the way, one of the interesting ways that college is not pro sports. I know that people see the NIL, they see the money that's going around and they go, oh boy, college, it's pro sports now. It's not, because you can't hold these athletes accountable in the same way you could a pro athlete, because you're not the ones paying them. They're not making money from North Carolina A&T. They're not making money from Eastern Michigan. They're making money from these NIL collectives and these various individual brands. And that makes this harder to police in a way that I think that we could see this get a whole lot worse and a whole lot weirder before it gets any better.
Well, and then another, storyline that came out, and when you kind of look into it more, you realize that it's really more relating to something that happened further in the past. But Major League Baseball yesterday officially fired an umpire because it was determined that way back in 2024, he was, and this is actually where it gets kind of bizarre. This umpire was sharing a betting account with someone else who happened to be a professional poker player. And then that person that he was allegedly sharing the account with went onto their shared account and placed wagers in baseball games, like some of them where this umpire was actually like officiating. And I mean, that whole thing, that's just bad. That's bad optics. That's just a very weird scenario. MLB was right to fire that guy. But again, it just speaks more to how widespread this is, the kind of different players that are partaking in the illegal activity. It's not just the players. There's officiating employees, umpires, people of that nature that are getting compromised too. So, I mean, all of this very concerning stuff. I hope and pray that it just does not continue to go down this path. I've spoken about the things that could change within sports betting. It may not be as wide open as it is now. It could get a lot more regulated, a lot more controlled. And that would just be a bummer because, there are some bright spots about the way that this thing works now, having the flexibility to create parlays and to bet on player props in the way that we do. All that stuff could go away if this is the kind of news that continues to come to light. So that was unfortunate.
It's also the thing that's interesting about this investigation too, is that the umpire. So the umpire, the investigation found no evidence that he manipulated the game in any way, just that he placed the bets and that's enough to get him fired. But all the bets are profitable.
Okay, well,
all the bets won. 8 bets across 5 games that he was involved in, they all won.
See, and
I just don't know. I don't know if I trust that.
Oh no, you absolutely shouldn't trust that. I mean, look, if you're going to be serious about trying to make an effort to like do some shady stuff and let it fly under the radar, you can't win every single bet. Like that would just be
that's rule number 1.
It literally is. Yes. So there you go. I mean, that's exactly why that stuff, ultimately got flagged. Now going back to the Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis trade, we talked a little bit yesterday about some of the futures betting markets. And I think Keon and I both are very confused at the way that they've moved because it really does feel like the Mavericks got better in the short term and the Lakers got better in the long term. And again, the Lakers do have some short-term potential to make some noise this season, but that's contingent on them making additional trades, trying to overturn this roster a little bit more. And like I said before, they've got less than 2 days to pull that off. This is not an easy trade environment, despite how easily it seems like they were able to just negotiate this,
Well, it helps that that Dallas called them.
Right. I mean,
it's not like LA was out there on the hunt for Luka and they were trying to put information out there and see what they could get. Like, no, Dallas picked up the phone and called LA and said, "Hey, do you want Luka Doncic?" And the Lakers, being, I know, a reasonably rational organization, the way that they're run, said yes, as you would, as anybody would.
Now, there's reporting coming out about the distribution of the bets that are getting placed on, who's going to be the next NBA Finals champ. And this is, I mean, it's mind-blowing stuff to me. Since the trade broke overnight on Saturday, 69% of the bets on the odds to win the finals at Fanatic Sportsbook were on the Lakers, more than all other teams combined. The second most popular bet since the trade is for the Dallas Mavericks. Anyone that is turning around and betting on the LA Lakers to win the NBA Finals this year in the wake of this Luka Doncic trade, you are just donating money to the book. That's what you're doing. These guys are not built to go all the way. Again, they do have that potential. It's possible that they can just all of a sudden make a flurry of moves in the next day and a half, but the likelihood of them doing that, very small. And if they don't do that, the likelihood of them going all the way, getting past Oklahoma City, getting even past Denver with this current construction of a roster, no chance. Absolutely no chance. That is not a smart bet. Keon, I think we're up against another break here.
We are, so we'll go ahead and do that, but we're going to take one last look at the text line here before we get to the long shot parlay of the day. T-Licious sends an image from the Twitters and says, this is a classic, and it and it goes like this. So somebody asked, somebody explain this Luka grade in girl terms, and the response was, Destiny's Child just traded Beyonce to TLC for Chili. So if that means anything to you, that's pretty funny to me. And then Swazman says, last week for PGA golf, I won 2 bets on Rory McIlroy top 10, and top 5 golf is hard to win. But I like your idea of 3 golfers in a top 20 parlay. So that's that, getting a little props there for the idea. because it's not something that a lot of people actually talk about doing.
Radio Ron loves doing those. That is like any golf tournament that rolls around. that is how he is betting.
Get a top 3 and 20 parlay. I don't know what you call that necessarily, but anywho, we got the long shot parlay of the day. Speaking of parlays, coming up right up next, it's Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
There's danger out there. It lurks on highways and quiet neighborhood streets. It's more likely to kill you than a shark and more terrifying than the biggest snake. Distracted driving claims lives every day. Every notification, swipe, social post, video, or selfie while driving risks your life. So while you might think public speaking or the zombie apocalypse is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hungry for something exciting? Then come experience what's new at Kasai Japanese Steakhouse with 2 Valley locations. No one does Asian-inspired cuisine better or more authentic than Kasai, where talented teppanyaki chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse, it isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is prepared right at your table with flair. It's the perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire with their daily specials. Try their new $12 bar menu items, Wagyu beef and Mongolian pork sliders, chicken or beef satay, and 3 delicious flavors of chicken karaage. 2025 is on fire at Kasai with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road and Thunderbird, and now open in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppen.com. That's KASAI Teppen.com or search Kasai on your mobile phone.
Multivitamins are your partners in health. Their nutrients are key to your daily well-being, especially if you're planning to become pregnant. A multivitamin rich in folic acid can help you have a healthier pregnancy and prevent birth defects. That's why the Arizona Department of Health Services is offering a free 3-month supply of daily vitamins with folic acid. To get your free vitamins, go to azdhs.gov/PowerMe-A2Z.
Sponsored by the Arizona Department of Health Services.
Download the Fanatic app.
News, scores, social media updates, and more on your smartphone, on your tablet. The free Fanatic app, available at the Google Play Store or the App Store and at 1580thefanatic.com.
We are back, and it's time to try and see if we can go hunting for money, but not the couch cushions, but in the long shot parlay of the day. 4 legs, 1 parlay, and hopefully a lot of money in your pocket. Dylan, what you got going on today?
So this long shot parlay, when I put it together earlier today, I did it on Fanatic Sportsbook because the alternate points props weren't available yet on FanDuel. So you may want to shop this one with FanDuel. It's possible that they could have a bigger payout, but this is how it breaks down. This one is 4 legs, and it pays a little bit over 104 to 1 odds. If you put $5 on this thing, it's going to pay $523. And we are counting on Donovan Mitchell to score 32 or more points tonight against the Celtics. We need Bam Adebayo to score 23 or more points against the Chicago Bulls. Then we are counting on Rui Hachimura to score 19 or more points against the LA Clippers. And finally, we are counting on DeAndre Ayton to continue the 20-point streak. He needs to score 21 or more points against the Indiana Pacers. So I'm going to go through each one of these, starting off with Donovan Mitchell scoring 32 or more points. The team with the best home record in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavs, take on the defending champion Boston Celtics at home tonight. The Cavs are coming into this matchup having won 6 out of their last 9 games. Now, over that stretch, Donovan Mitchell has scored 33 or more points 5 times. On the season, Mitchell averages just under 24 points per game, but he's been scoring a lot more lately. Over his last 10 games, he's bumped his scoring average up to about 26 points per game. In addition, the Cavs and the Celtics, they've already played each other twice this season, and Donovan Mitchell has scored 35 points in both of those games. So with this matchup being a primetime national TV showdown on TNT, look for the All-Stars to step up and contribute, and that will be with Donovan Mitchell leading the way. Count on him to get those 32 points. Bam Adebayo for 23 or more points against the Bulls. The Bam and the Heat are taking on the Bulls after beating the Spurs back on Saturday, where Bam dropped 30 points to lead Miami to victory. Bam has now scored 21 or more points in his last 3 straight games, and he's going to get a chance to abuse the second worst defense in the NBA in Chicago. The Heat have not played the Bulls yet this season, but going back to last year in the 2 games that Bam played against the Bulls, which, by the way, they both happen to be in Chicago, just like tonight's game, Bam scored 23 points and 24 points. With the current front court of the Bulls being particularly vulnerable, and that team clearly entering a full rebuild after the trade of Zach LaVine over the weekend, look for Bam to dominate the paint in this matchup and rack up points. And I actually just checked on Chicago's injury report for tonight. Those 3 players that they just got back in the trade with Sacramento and San Antonio, those guys aren't playing today. In addition to that, there are a couple of guys that just got waived. There's a couple of guys that are questionable. They're going to be very shorthanded personnel-wise. So when it comes to just like energy and stamina, the Bulls might be kind of struggling there, having to really lean on their starters and not having a very deep bench to rely on. So it's a very good scenario to back Bam on the points. Rui Hachimura, 19 or more points. The Lakers, they're going to be a little shorthanded when they face the Clippers tonight since they made that Luka Doncic trade over the weekend. None of the players that they traded for are expected to play yet. And then they also shipped out Anthony Davis and Max Christie to Dallas. So Rui has been benefiting from the lack of available players over the last couple of games for LA. He scored 22 points against the Wizards last Thursday in 26 minutes. He scored 21 points against the Knicks in 38 minutes back on Saturday. Rui should be getting very similar playing time to what he saw against the Knicks in this game tonight. That's going to allow him to get a lot of shots up to try and reach that 19-point mark. Now, the Lakers actually happened to play the Clippers a couple of weeks ago, and Hachimura scored 19 points in a game where Anthony Davis played 37 minutes and took 14 shots. So look for Rui to have a bigger role on the offense for LA tonight in the wake of AD's departure from the team. Final leg, DeAndre Ayton, 21 or more points. This one might actually be the most difficult leg, but it's totally worth it. DeAndre Ayton is playing his absolute best basketball of the season right now, coming off that overtime win against the Suns. Again, he scored 25 points, had 20 rebounds in that game. Ayton has now scored 21 or more points in his last 5 straight games. He will be playing the Indiana Pacers at home on the second night of a back-to-back where he did play 42 minutes last night. So there is a risk of him maybe just not having enough in the tank to get the job done. However, Pacers starting center Miles Turner, he's missed their last 4 games, and it's looking like he may be out again tonight. That's going to go a very, very long way towards allowing Ayton to dominate in the paint once again. Now, even if Turner does end up playing, Ayton is absolutely one of the hottest centers in basketball right now, and it's just generally a good rule of thumb to ride the hot hand. So count on Ayton to continue that streak, to get the 21 or more points tonight. And then in addition to the long shot parlay, there are 8 other bets to consider. There's a whole range of different player props that I've posted there. In addition to the top 2 picks of the day, for the top pick, we are counting on the Arizona Wildcats to win on the money line on the road at BYU. This is a big game that has big implications for who's ultimately going to win the Big 12 conference. Since Houston lost to Texas Tech, that is now tied Arizona and Houston for the lead in the Big 12 when it comes to men's college basketball. So look for U of A to play well again on the road. This is a big game for them. They need to continue to win to keep that lead with Houston. And then they've got a showdown with Houston coming up in Tucson, where they're very much going to want to have at least the same record as those guys, or maybe possibly a little bit better. But going off of how they played on the road at ASU over the weekend, these guys are playing very well right now. Caleb Love in particular had 27 points in that game. Hopefully his shooting is staying hot. And if it does, BYU is going to be in for a heck of a fight tonight. That's going to be a fun one to watch. That's all I got, Keon.
And that's going to do it for us, by the way. Again, the bets of today, bets du jour, that'll be on the 1580 The Fanatic website. Just search for the Beat the Book logo on the page. Click on that. You'll get right there to get, obviously, the long shot parlay of the day if you somehow missed it. And, of course, some of these other bets to consider. I'm a really, really big fan of that Tyrese Maxey 30-plus
he
points.
Has been so good lately.
Yeah, Guy's been absolutely on fire. Also, make sure you follow Dylan on Instagram to get some updates on, some of the things that you can bet on, some stories in real time to see some of the bets that he's making. Go ahead and maybe give that a follow. That is at Beat the Book Fanatic. Check that out. The Daily Blender is coming up next.
I'm Patrick Claybon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Super Bowl 59 opening night is in the books. Both the Eagles and Chiefs took turns at the podium fielding questions from the media. Both teams will begin practicing on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Rams and wide receiver Cooper Kupp officially working on a trade. Kupp releasing a statement Monday saying, quote, "I was informed that the team will be seeking a trade immediately and will be working with me and my family to find the right place to continue competing for championships. I don't agree with the decision and always believed it was going to begin and end in LA." Kupp, who turns 32 in June, is set to earn $20 million in 2025. Browns defensive end Myles Garrett has also requested a trade. Garrett stated, quote, "My desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. The